In this video, we will look at the activities undertaken in earthworks. The earthworks form the foundation of the road. When complete, the earthworks need to be able to support the road loads and remain stable for the life of the road. The purpose of the earthworks is to support the road without deforming or slipping for the life of the road and beyond. This does not happen by accident. The strength and other requirements are very carefully determined in the design. The materials and workmanship required to meet these requirements are set out in detail in the specifications. Specifications are also referred to as standards or codes of practice. TNZ F1 is a specification for earthworks construction produced by NZTA, the New Zealand Transport Agency. It sets out the requirements that have to be met when the earthworks for a road are being constructed. In particular, it sets out the requirements for the site clearance and excavation, hauling and filling that make up the cut-to-fill operations, laying and compaction of fills, and the compaction and shaping of the subgrade. There is also a set of notes which provide more detail about the requirements of TNZ F1, entitled TNZ F1 Specification Notes. This document has additional details and explanations of the requirements. It is recommended that you download and review this document as well. We will be looking at the relevant sections of the specification in the videos that follow. But first, let's look at the earthworks operation. The operations we undertake to construct these earthworks can vary according to the design. The cut and fill volumes influence what type of operations are required to carry out the earthworks. If we have a design that has both cut and fill, then we need to take the material from the cut areas and deposit into the fill areas. This is called a cut-to-fill operation. Let's look at a cut-to-fill operation in a little bit more detail. This slide shows the existing ground profile. The ground levels need to be altered to provide a road with shallow slopes using the cut-to-fill operation. The first step is establishing on site. This involves building an access road from the local roading system to the site and setting up site facilities. A construction site is a working place, so we need to have offices, lunchrooms and toilets as a minimum, and these need to be brought to site. Normally the office and lunchroom will be portacoms or caravans, which can be easily transported to site and taken away again at the end of the project. Toilets are usually portacoms. The sites also need to have drinking water and first aid facilities as well. You also need to consider how you're going to get the plant and other equipment to the site. And that usually requires specialised trucks. Once we have our access and site facilities set up, then we need to establish our sediment control systems. Rain falling on the exposed earthworks can erode soil particles and carry them into the local water system. These eroded soil particles are called sediment, and they can cause significant damage to the local water ecosystem. Therefore, we need to trap the sediment on site. We do this with silt fences and sediment ponds. Drainage on the site flows to these treatment devices, which retain the silt and release the treated water to the local system. When we have the sediment control system in place, then we are ready to start doing the earthworks. The earthworks starts with site clearance, where we clear the ground where the road will be constructed down to the soil surface. You may recall that we cannot build on organic materials like topsoil, so that needs to be removed as well as the plant vegetation in it. If we are building on an existing road, then we need to remove the old road and other surface features such as buildings and fences also need to be removed. As mentioned, greenfield sites such as farmland and bush will require the removal of grass and trees, then the removal of the topsoil. We may stockpile the topsoil on site so we can reapply it to berm areas, or we may dispose of it off-site. Sometimes the topsoil can be mixed with good fill and used in fill areas which are not carrying the road loadings, such as areas to the side of the road. The site is now ready for the main earthwork moving operations. This may be cut to fill, cut to waste, or fill construction with imported soil, or usually a combination of these activities. The earth-moving operation will reshape the ground to the design levels. The top of the earthworks is called the formation level, and the road pavement will be built on this surface. When we're at the formation level, we need to install the services that run under the road. These services may be stormwater, water, and wastewater pipes, and power and telecom ducts. We install these services now so we don't have to dig up the finished road surface later to install them. The surface of the earthworks that will carry the load is called the subgrade. We need to make sure that this part of the earthworks is strong enough to carry the road loadings without failing or deforming excessively. Any movement of the subgrade will result in settling of the road surface, which results in bumps and depressions on the road, and sometimes results in the road becoming unusable. Subgrade preparation may involve just testing the subgrade to check that it has the required bearing capacity, if the soil is strong enough already. In this case, the surface is then shaped to the final design using a grader. However, some soils are not strong enough to carry the load and need to be strengthened by cement or lime stabilization. These processes involve mixing cement or lime into the top layer of the soil surface and wetting it. The mix will then set into a hard, strong surface layer. Shaping of the surface needs to be undertaken immediately after the stabilization process, as the surface becomes too hard to shape when the mix is set. The road pavement can now be constructed once the subgrade has been prepared and tested using testing methods we'll look at later on. The testing is designed to demonstrate that it meets the specific requirements. Road pavement is covered in the road pavement module, which is another micro-credential. In the following videos we'll look at some of these activities in more detail, but services installation will be covered in the road drainage module.